Hello, everybody. Today we have a game that looks to be basically a rematch from the last game I casted between Race and EXE. That was on Corruption, and this one is on a map called Global Warming. I think this is kind of a play on words, a very punny, because you can see on here on the southeastern corner of the map, it's you have water, a luscious environment, biome, and here in the top left you have, well, hell. It's us. It's what the Earth will be. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the map is called Global Warming and very thematic, I suppose. Here in the bottom left, we have Race, the core commander, going K-Bot first. And in the top right, we have EXE, the red arm commander, also going K-Bot first. This is an interesting map to go K-Bot first. There is quite a distance between the two players, and I think vehicles could close that distance, but one advantage to going K-Bots first is that these the construction bots are quite a bit cheaper and faster to build than the construction vehicles, and so that does allow you to build more of them early on. You can kind of expand a little more quickly at the beginning, because you can build more. There's also the termite and the flea, which allow you to reclaim the foliage. Though neither player seems to have built either of those this game, which kind of surprises me because this map does have some reclaimable objects, trees and such, that could give you an economic boost early on. But no, both players content to just spam out those construction K-Bots. So, EXE looking to be a little aggressive here. He's got 5 Peewees slowly making their way down this map. And as I said before, K-Bots not the fastest, and vehicles would be better for that early aggression or harassment. But Race also setting up some AKs. And could they meet here in the middle? Or will they pass like ships in the night? Race looking to stop his little group of AKs. And they are going to meet in combat. Again, this is kind of a rematch between the two. The last game I casted on Corruption, it did look as though Race was winning that game, but then I thought EXE had conceded at the end, but I was informed in the comments section that no, EXE had not conceded. Race's game crashed, and so the results of that game were inconclusive. Technically, neither player won, which is quite a shame, I think, because I would have liked to see the end of that game. It's just having the replay, you can't really tell if it was just a crash sometimes. But either way, this should be a good rematch. Hopefully, the players can. One of the players can claim their throne, claim victory, and give themselves the crown here. I do believe that in this little rivalry between Race and EXE has won more games. Not that surprising, because EXE is quite a fearsome player and very difficult to deal with in general. And so it wouldn't surprise me too much. But Race also very, very skilled. And so either of these players can most certainly come out on top of any given match. So one thing I wanted to say here, EXE opting to go light laser tower first, and then take, Race going light laser tower, and then taking these 3 metal spots. Again, that kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the last match, where as a player you have the decision to be greedy. In this case, Race could have probably gotten those 3 metal spots and then the light laser tower, because it just so happened that no aggression was coming this way. But, you know, it was also very possible that EXE sneaks a cheeky peewee or two down the northwest side of the map and catches this construction K-bot unawares. It's always interesting to see how the players decide to expand. When it comes to expanding in TA, you can really be as safe as you want, or you can be as greedy as you want. So, here in the middle, EXE, it's got quite a few peewees, and he might be pushing down, but there are 2 light laser towers in this little bay here. This kind of mini fortress that Race is setting up. But what I was saying is that as a player, you can expand very slowly in a safe way, in which you build almost as much defense as you want. As you slowly expand out on the map, you can kind of make a defensive, kind of these little defensive bases in each cluster of metal. So for example, this would be one kind of defensive base, and you could make another one here, you know, and you could make another one here. And that would be a very safe way to play, because it would make it hard for your opponent to harass you at all. Or you could kind of do the opposite and just expand out, take all these metal spots and not even worry about defending it, and really just hope that your opponent doesn't punish you for it. That's one kind of, you know, get rich quick scheme. It's a good way to get ahead. But you're taking a massive risk, because your opponent can find your undefended metal spots and take those out with ease if they're paying attention. And so these are the kinds of decisions you have to make as a player in escalation. How safe do you want to be when expanding? You can build mini fortresses at each of your metal spots, or you can build no defense at all. And that may seem like kind of a small or arbitrary decision, but I can promise you it's not, because how the players choose to defend, how the players choose to defend their territory has a huge impact on how quickly they can expand, how big their economy gets, and things of that nature. And it's always interesting for me to see how players like to do this, because there's really no right answer. It comes down to your opponent's playstyle and your playstyle. When you build defenses like in a specific area of the map, you're really kind of preparing to be attacked there. So sometimes those defenses can be incredibly useful, and sometimes they can do nothing at all. You can just waste a bunch of metal and energy creating defenses that essentially don't do anything, or when they are finally attacked, they just get overwhelmed. So let's give an example. I'm looking for something, though. Okay, so for example, EXE built a single light laser tower here. You know, let's say that when Race finally does attack this area, he brings a massive swarm of units that just kills this light laser tower instantly. In that case, the light laser tower didn't really do anything, right? So like he pretty much built it just in case there was a small raid. But if there's a big enough attack, you know, there was like it just dies almost instantly. It does almost nothing. So that can happen too. You can build these light defenses only for them to be just kind of useless in practice. But it could also be that you know, Race sends just a couple AKs at some point, and that light laser tower does do something. You know, those are the kinds of like really difficult decisions you have to make as a player in terms of like how you want to invest in defense and like whether that defense actually pans out. And Race also building a solar collector here at the front. He's been doing that a lot. I think these solar collectors, they give you energy, but he's using them as like makeshift walls. Makes it harder for your opponent to break into your defenses and metal extractors when you have these kind of solar collector walls. So that's an interesting strategy. I don't often see players using solar collectors as walls because they also provide energy, so you don't want to lose them. But okay, so here's Race doing more of a... here's Race setting up more of a serious defense here near the middle. You know, now he's got like 7 light laser towers and 2 pulverizers. So he's kind of counting on a big battle happening here and for those defenses to come into play. And now a GAT as well, a much more expensive investment. So, yeah. But at the same time, you know, EXE could come down with these Samsons and just kind of outrange this defense. And it could all be kind of useless. It really depends on, I guess, how the match plays out. Wow, EXE up here has brought kind of a large group of Roccos and Jethros. And gonna push down into the western corner of Race's base. A lot of action happening in a lot of different places on this map. Race continuing to beef up this area. And will EXE just go around it? That's this is kind of a perfect example of what I was talking about, where sometimes you can build a lot of defenses in an area and your opponent can just avoid that area completely or wait until they have better units to deal with it, like T2. So yeah, EXE may just avoid that whole part of the map completely. But yeah, some intense fighting going on here. MAK's very scary and powerful core kind of battle K-bot. But they are outranged by Roccos. And it is all up to how the players micro this. But if these MAKs can get into range of EXE's forces, it could be quite scary. These green lasers absolutely shredding any kind of T1 unit in almost no time at all. But overall, here we go. A couple light laser towers here on the eastern side. And EXE should be able to clean these up without too much problem. It's got some javelins here in the back. And Javelin's quite a bit more powerful than Pee-wee's. Just a few shots should take out these light laser towers. And here in the middle, Race with some instigators and levelers. And some more Pee-wee's. Moving west. So let's look at the players' bases here, see what they've got going on. Race. Let me look at Race's base here. Both players still on T1, just spamming those T1 units. No air yet. That's kind of surprising to me. Air on a map like this. Well, basically any map, but especially on this map, it feels like air would be pretty strong. EXE going completely K-bots. I mean, I don't see a single... Now, he's got to have a vehicle plant somewhere. I saw... Yeah, he's got one vehicle plant. Now he's going hovercraft as well. But yeah, both players staying on T1 for a long, long time. Typically by this point in the game, EXE would almost certainly have gone T2, but perhaps deciding to play it safe this game and stick on T1 a little longer. Try to get control of the map. But Race moving forward here with this army of levelers, instigators, storms, and MAKs. A very fearsome combination indeed. And what can this raiding force get done is the question. Levelers extremely strong against these lower HP peewees, but these warriors are quite beefy and much harder to kill, and so the levelers will struggle with those. And EXE will push off this attack, but he might lose some metal spots here in the top left before finally cleaning up this attack. EXE still not on T2 yet. That really surprises me. And hasn't built air either. So Race, however, is moving to T2. He's going for core K-bots, core T2 K-bots. And yeah, Race going to run into a couple light laser towers here and some javelins. And a warrior or two, so that should quite easily clean up this force. Yeah, in the end, these two light laser towers ended up being very effective at pushing away that little raiding party. And here on the western side of the map, a couple peewees running by, just being annoying, but probably not going to get too much accomplished. But yeah, as I said before, EXE still on T1. One thing I was going to say earlier is it surprises me that EXE has not taken his geos. Geos, a massive energy resource in this, in Total Annihilation. 300 energy for a modest cost. They're certainly a lot more effective than solar collectors at energy output, and the map is littered with them. And it does seem like Race has taken at least this one. I thought he had more. I'm going to keep looking here. Yeah, he's got this one too. And a third one. So Race has 900 more energy than EXE from geos alone. And that is going to free up his economy to build other things rather than just a ton of solar collectors. Just looking at the resource tab, Race at almost 2,000 energy per second, and EXE on 1,300, so those geos definitely making the difference. And now, EXE building some hovercraft. We did recognize that he had built this platform earlier, so he's now building some hovercraft. The Zapper is the ARM Lightning hovercraft. They are, oh, they're decently armored with a short-range lightning attack, but they're kind of better for raiding. You really need a lot of them to engage in combat. So I would assume that EXE wants to use these for raiding. He will most likely take them left here and try to hit some of this relatively undefended base. And in the meantime, also sending forward warriors, essentially warriors, to get some harassment done there. Warriors are pretty short range, but they are very damn hard to kill. They have one of the most HP for any T1 unit in the game. They have God, an amazing, I think it's around 1600. Let's check. Oh, it doesn't tell me actually. But yeah, I believe they have about 1600 HP. So huge amount for a T1 unit. But they are relatively slow moving and short ranged, so there are a lot of ways to just kind of kite them and pick them off. And in the meantime, you have pyros, which are also short ranged, but they're T2 and they should have no problem dealing with these warriors. Yeah, these warriors gonna get burned alive, I think. But good God, EXE moving down the eastern corner of the map with an army of warriors. And as I said, these are all individually very tanky. And this could be quite an effective push, but there are some GATs here. GATs, the T1 heavy laser defense. And they are quite a formidable form of protection. They do a lot of damage, and they are much harder to kill than their light laser tower cousins. But yeah, EXE just going to avoid it. He's just going to walk his units by and try to get into that more vulnerable portion of the map. And as I said before, these zappers have been slowly making their way across the map. They started over here and then moved down at an angle and finally making it into EXE's base, and they will join this force of warriors and javelins in attempting this raid. In the meantime, EXE also moving down the western corner of the map with more warriors, and gonna run into these pyros here. And as I stated before, pyros should be pretty good at killing warriors. We'll have to see. Here in the bottom, these zappers are now attempting a run by. As I said, they typically don't want to engage in combat. They're much better if they can just kind of avoid and skirt a player's mobile forces and their defenses and try to get into their base, try to take out some juicy targets like a resource generator or a geo would be ideal, but I don't think they'll be able to do that. They are getting pretty low health here. And in the meantime, Race now pushing through the middle, and EXE responding with some Mavericks. As I've said many times, the Mavericks a big topic of discussion in the Discord about whether they are too strong, whether they need to be nerfed. Certainly they are a very, very powerful unit, especially against T1. And yeah, EXE gonna put these to good use. EXE just kind of applying this relentless pressure, still moving down the southern portion of the map, west into his opponent's base, causing all kinds of trouble, mostly with some warriors and zappers. But yeah, it does look like Race will finally push him back here. But yeah, this whole kind of southeastern corner of the map has been raided, pillaged, looted, and otherwise destroyed by EXE's endless aggression. So yeah, EXE doing a really good job of, I think, having map control. Certainly he's taking control of the water here, and building some tidal generators as well. So very interesting strategy. This should solve his energy problems for the foreseeable future. Still content to spam out those Mavericks. He's got just one T2 K-bot factory being assisted by about 10 construction K-bots, so these will pump out Mavericks at a relatively fast pace. And Race transitioning to a T2 economy here, building all these Moho extractors anywhere he can, and EXE not doing as good of a job. I don't see any Moho extractors on his side of the map yet. So yeah, EXE needs to catch up with that, or he's going to fall behind, perhaps, on metal. But he does have more of the map. So, yeah. Right now, both players still pretty even, but Race slowly pulling ahead, and I think it probably has everything to do with these T2 metal extractors that he is putting down anywhere and everywhere that he can find a spot that will give him an economic advantage as this game continues. So yeah, EXE needs to definitely do his own upgrading as well if he wants to stay competitive in the economic game. But as I say that, EXE now moving west with this force of Zappers and Warriors. The Wombat in the back. Race struggling to keep this constant aggression at bay. I mean, EXE does have a floating hovercraft platform just outside his opponent's base. So that is going to be a pain in the neck as he continues to build raiding parties that will float onto the land and continue to apply this endless pressure onto Race. Could he get this resource generator? Zapper's not having the most health, but yeah, doing a decent amount of damage with those lightning cannons. And in the meantime, EXE pushing down the middle with some Mavericks. Race kind of falling apart here, it feels like. He's losing a lot of map control. He's already lost the southeastern corner of his base. And it looks like he's going to lose another resource generator to this Wombat. And he's just really struggling to defend himself from this constant harassment, this constant pressure being applied by hovercraft, and also these land-based raiding parties, some Mavericks and Javelins here. And as you can see, it just feels like the whole eastern corner of Race's base is slowly crumbling as EXE continues to put pressure. This little raiding party having now made it to the southern part of the map, and they should be able to take out these Moho extractors. But Race coming to defend, and yeah, he will push away this aggression before it takes out all of them, but he did take out 2. And again, these Mavericks so hard to deal with T1. They really can kind of chew up T1 very quickly. And you need more specialized counters generally to Mavericks. You can't just send instigators in. These cans should be able to deal with it, but the can's relatively slow, so they're going to have to get in range. And more Wombats coming in, more Swatters. Oh, I was about to say neither player having built air yet, but EXE finally making it to Thunders. And he is most likely going to begin his bombing campaign at any minute. He's now upgrading his economy to T2 as well, so He's going to be catching up in the economic game, I think. He is about 60 metal per second behind at this point. But nothing insurmountable because EXE does have better map control. And so now Cans versus Mavericks, Spiders, and Zeus's. Generally, I would favor the Cans, but these Spiders are going to be paralyzing the Cans and preventing them from even firing, so these Spiders just kind of making these Cans into sitting ducks. And that will allow EXE's forces to slowly clean this up, I think. The single sentinel. I don't know why you can't hit it. Alright, he was hitting it. But, yeah, Race still struggling to deal with this endless pressure being applied by the hovercraft. And some land-based forces coming down the eastern part of the map. It just doesn't seem like he has found a countermeasure. A single Doomsday machine surrounded by Dragon's Teeth could be in a very effective defense. But T1 units really probably aren't going to be doing the job against these combined forces of javelins and hovercraft. And this emulator is going to be too late. Maybe if he had built it first, it would have been more effective, but building it after he's already completed the Moho extractors is going to end up costing him everything. It seems like these Moho extractors will most likely be taken out. And Race trying to respond now with some Cans and Storms, going to try to push back this aggression. Now, Wombats and Swatters don't have the most health. They are typically considered more of a support hovercraft, though Wombats are pretty good at dealing with static defenses as well. And Race will save at least one extractor here. But in the west corner of the map, EXE applying more aggression with this army of Zeus, Mavericks, and Spiders. So, yeah, again, Race struggling to defend attacks from multiple angles all over the map, and we still have these bombers. It's like a storm that is slowly brewing, which will eventually come to fruition, and there will be a tsunami of thunders, which are going to wash over Race's base and probably inflict massive economic damage. Though Race not totally undefended, he does have a Cobra there. Let's see, what other air defense does he have? He's got quite a few pulverizers in his base. But no Cobras in his main base that I can see, so that might be a problem. If he could build a Cobra in his main base, that would certainly curtail this bomber aggression. And EXE, it seems, has stopped building Mavericks and now building Fidos. Fido's more of a kind of a medium-ranged artillery unit. Perhaps more of a support unit than are Mavericks, but these Fidos, if you can mass enough of them, if you can build an army of Fidos, do become extremely difficult to deal with because they outrange most units in the game. Certainly most T1 units, and probably even most T2 units as well. And they shoot out this volley of shells that, if microed correctly, can be absolutely devastating. But EXE just kind of walking into the range of these cans, and cans if you can get into their range, very powerful. Certainly with these Fidos, he wants to keep them out of range of these slower moving cans, if at all possible. And he will do that. Yeah, Fido's, I would say, a decent counter to cans if microed correctly, if they can stay out of the range of the cans. You need some vision, and but yeah, not a bad counter, and the spiders can also paralyze them as well. But Race slowly taking back his southeastern corner of the map. Rebuilding these Moho extractors for the 15th time, I think. And he's got plenty of metal down here to reclaim if he wants to. Get some free economic boost. But in the meantime, EXE has advanced to T2 hovercraft plant and going to be making some rebels. T2 hovercraft, a much more formidable threat than the T1 spam he was making. Here comes these bombers, this bombing run that we knew was coming, but I didn't see. They will most likely take out this fusion right here. They already took out a Moho. Yeah, there the fusion goes. So that is a massive economic blow to Race's economy. Fusions are not cheap and they produce 1,000 energy, so that is a huge blow, and Race simply can't be happy with that. These bombers now going to take out some solar collectors in the process, and they might take out a Moho here. Beautiful, and they might get this Moho too. Oh, they don't quite get it. So, Race having decent air defense, but not enough to save his fusion. And so, overall, I would say that was a successful bombing campaign. But in the meantime, Race moving up with this small army of cans and storms, and the only thing to stop them, a single sentinel. Looks like Race can't even be bothered to kill that. EXE now building some shooters. The shooter is the ARM T2 Sniper K-Bot. They have quite a considerable range. They deal a ton of damage in a single shot, but they have a longer reload time, and they use energy for every shot. So these shooters are actually decent counters to cans because they can outrange them quite effectively, and kill them, kite them from a distance, and kill them with their powerful sniper shots. But yeah, EXE building a force here now of T2 hovercrafts. He's going to be building some rebels, and with this group of pelicans, I'm assuming when this force is ready, he is going to do a sweep left and probably take out all of this with ease. These light laser towers just are not going to be that effective at dealing with what EXE is building right now. And yeah, these shooters now moving down the southeastern corner of the map, shooters and javelins. I have to say, I've always felt like ARM K-bots are ARM T2 K-bots are it's one of the most versatile factories in the game, because it really kind of gives you everything. You just have such a massive diversity, a selection of units. It feels like it's like almost unlimited toolbox. Such a massive amount of choices that I don't think isn't necessarily shared with Core's factory. You know, for example, these spiders, you know, the ability to paralyze your opponent's units is a very unique strategic choice that comes from the ARM T2 factory. The Zeuses, which are just kind of a frontline assault unit. The Fidos, which are more of a support / artillery unit, but they can also be used for assaults, especially if you get them in mass, right? The Mavericks, which are kind of good at everything in this patch. They're certainly good at raiding, and they're good against T1. Mavericks extremely strong. The Shooters as well. This kind of long range, you know, anti-beef, I guess, anti-tank option. EXE's Fidos being very annoying here, and the commander attempting to degun those, but the Fidos have a decent range, and they're certainly going to be able to outrange the commander. So Race, let's see, his commander on about half health here. These 3 Fidos, just very annoying at this point, and probably going to just taunt him down here for a while. Take out some metal extractors. And overall, just kind of keep him busy. This raid that has been brewing for a while now. Here at the southern corner of the map, EXE's T2 hovercraft and his Pelicans, I think, might finally make their approach inward onto the beach here, and begin their death push. But yeah, you can kind of see, if you just look at the score, the economy of both players. Race struggling with energy and metal. EXE's successful bombing run of this fusion a few minutes ago was so devastating. It was such a devastating attack, and that has put Race behind, and I think he is now struggling to recover financially. He is rebuilding a fusion reactor. He is slowly but surely trying to reconstruct his, you know, get his energy back online. But will he be able to do it in time? It does feel like EXE in a very good position here. Still building this force of hovercrafts and Pelicans, and he's got about 5 or 6 shooters as well. When this attack finally does happen, it could very easily just end the game. This is a very scary combination of units: Pelicans, Rebels, and shooters. That is going to be hard for anything to stop. But in the meantime, Race moving forward with this army of cans and crashers. The cans do the DPS, and they provide the tanking, while the crashers provide anti-air support, and they also provide vision. Let's see if you look here. The crashers having a very decent vision range, and so the cans having a smaller vision range are assisted by these crashers and being able to see their targets, and also protected from air attacks as well. EXE finally moving this southern raiding force into Race's base that has been brewing for I don't know. This attack has been brewing for at least 5-10 minutes, probably more like 10 minutes. And it will finally make its way forward, and in the meantime, EXE will get some bombing done. What else can he do here? EXE's bombing runs always seem to be so effective. Might take out an advanced vehicle plant here. Yeah, he does take it out. But, he's going to fly over this wall of pulverizers and take out a few construction bots before finally being cleaned up. I am surprised he didn't move his shooters forward here. That would have been a very good complementary force. The shooters in the back dealing that massive ranged DPS while the rebels tank the shots. But this army of cans has made its way up into EXE's base, and but EXE now coming from multiple angles, so both players definitely getting into the heart of their opponent's base. And so man, at this point it's a very close game. It could go either way. But is EXE just going to win here with this army of spiders, Zeuses, and Fidos? We'll have to see. They seem to be taking out a lot. They might get this advanced K-Bot lab here just in time. Race's commander here at about 3/4 health. He's perfectly healthy, I'd say. And in the meantime, Race doing his own economic damage with this army of cans that may finally be cleaned up by a combination of bombers and Zeuses. But this raiding force of rebels and shooters still having yet to be dealt with. And yeah, both of these players doing a great job of providing that endless pressure on their opponent. EXE still hasn't cleaned up these cans. He will finally, I think, clean this up. But do the cans ever end? Does the wave of cans ever end? Starting to feel like a tower defense for both players here. Just desperately trying to stop these endless waves of harassment and raiding and assaults on their base. But yeah, overall though, EXE is ahead. He's making about twice as much metal per second and about 50. Excuse me, he's making about twice as much energy per second and about 50 more metal per second. As I said before, these shooters will outrange the cans. And so devastating. Just taking out that entire energy farm there with those shooters. And more rebels coming in now. The rebels, the ARM T2 Riot hover tank. You can see they shoot this volley of short-range shells designed to... It's almost like a shotgun. It feels like a shotgun. So especially designed to take out those armies of cheaper T1 units. But in this case, just good for tanking and allowing those shooters to push out their DPS from a long range while the rebels take the punishment. The shooter's shot is invisible. All you can see, if you look closely, is the bullet hitting the target. And each time the bullet does hit the target, doing a massive amount of damage. So EXE finally moving to bulldogs now. Not a bad choice. Bulldogs in this situation, very good. They one of the most well-rounded units in the game. The Bulldog. They have a nice combination of speed, health, DPS. They shoot very quickly with these dual cannons, and they hit in an AoE. As I've said in previous casts, the Bulldog's just a very strong unit overall and very well-rounded and kind of hard to deal with, to be honest. Bulldogs do require specialized counters, and they're also pretty good against cans. If you get enough Bulldogs, they do tend to fare pretty well against cans. So Bulldogs and Zeuses, a very scary combination. And in the south, this army of rebels continuing to push forward and be a nuisance with the shooters in the back here. And here we go, another bombing run. Yeah. I think that time race probably conceding. I mean, you never know. It could have been, that someone crashed again, but EXE felt like was moving in for the kill there. He had this southern force here on the screen of rebels and shooters. He had that massive army of Bulldogs and Zeuses coming down the mid, and he had a bombing run that was just about to hit his opponent's base. So that combination of 3 different attack parties should have quite easily won the game, I think. Certainly, Race was in a lot of trouble and most likely going to lose within the next couple minutes. So very well played by both players. And for a while, either player could have won. I mean, but EXE ultimately doing a better job. Taking control of the sea there was a massive benefit because it just gave him such a positional advantage, just being able to send those constant hovercraft parties through the south from the sea. That was a really brilliant play there. And EXE also the only player going air, surprisingly, in a game that turned out to be like 40-50 minutes. It was very surprising that Race didn't even attempt to build air at all. So yeah, giving your opponent air dominance for free, never really a good idea. But overall, well played by both players, and a lot of back and forth. But overall, EXE doing a great job, and hope you enjoyed it.